Good morning all. In our today's class we are going to derive the expressions for Rutherford structure of an atom. In our earlier sessions we have discussed about the basic or introduction part of atoms and who discovered it and how it was discovered. Now in today's class we are going to derive the expressions for Rutherford structure of an atom. That is, obtain an expression for energy of an electron in hydrogen atom. Obtain an expression for energy in a hydrogen atom in terms of radius using Rutherford model. Now I am going to write the heading of the derivation, that is, obtain an expression for hydrogen atom obtain an expression for the energy of the hydrogen atom in terms of radius using Rutherford's atomic model. Using Rutherford's model of an atom. After the completion of this derivation, I am going to derive the same derivation by using Bohr's atomic model. For that we have to explain the Bohr's postulate. From today onwards you have to write the whole concept which I will do in the class and you have to submit that to me later. Okay, that's the thing which you have to do from today onwards. The things which I am going to do, ಅಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನಿಂದ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಿನ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವೆದರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಟೆಂಡೆಡ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಉದ್ದೇಶಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಟುಡೇ ಆನ್ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್. ನೌ we can see how to derive the Rutherford structure of an atom for the energy of a hydrogen atom using in terms of radius. Okay, let us see how we can going to derive this expression. For this expression, initially what we have to do is we have to consider an atom. Actually this is not an atom, this is center. Okay, this is center of the atom. What is the center of the atom actually? The center of the atom is positively charged particles, that is only nothing but protons. Here Z is number of protons and E is charge of the proton. Here Z is number of the protons and E is charge of the proton. Actually we know that nucleus is positively charged because neutrons are electrically neutral and the charge of the proton is positive. That is why we have written this as plus Ze. And from the center to the orbit, actually this is the orbit. Which orbit? That is electron orbit. If we assume this as an electron orbit, electron has to revolve around the nucleus. That is the Rutherford structure of an atom. If we assume this as a first orbit, for example n is equal to 1, here we have an electron, here we have one electron. That electron has to revolve around the nucleus. What is the charge of the electron? That is E. Charge of the electron is equal to E, but the charge of the electron is equal to minus E. Here we have charge of the whole nucleus is equal to plus Z into E. Here Z is number of protons and E is the charge of the proton. This is overall charge of the nucleus, and this is charge of an electron, that is plus E. Here what we have is V. What is this V? That is velocity of the electron. Here V is velocity of the electron. At which speed the electron is going to revolve around the nucleus is V. Here we will get a concept of momentum. Because electron is revolving around the nucleus means it should have its momentum. If it is going in a straight line, we used to call that as linear momentum, but in this case we used to call that as angular momentum. But Rutherford failed to explain this concept, the angular momentum concept. That is why we are not going to consider the concept of angular momentum in this particular derivation. We can see that in Bohr's atomic model. Now what we can do is, we have to consider in this figure plus Ze is the charge of the nucleus. Plus Ze is the charge of the nucleus, and R is the radius between nucleus center to the electron. Here we have to consider the small r is the radius between center of a nucleus to the, that is electron revolving around the nucleus. Actually the circle is same, the orbit is same. That is why we have to consider the radius as r. Okay. Now what are the things which we have? That is V. V is the velocity of the electron or speed of the electron. Okay. In terms of vector, we have to consider that as velocity only. That is why we have considered V is the velocity of the electron and E is the charge of the electron. Okay. E is the charge of the electron. But here what we know is the electrons possesses kinetic energy due to electron motion. Okay. The electron possesses kinetic energy due to the motion of electron. Due to the motion of the electron, and potential energy due to the presence of the charge on the nucleus. Here we are getting kinetic energy due to the motion of the electron. If an object is moving, that means it should have its own kinetic energy. If the particular thing has its own energy, that means it is possessing its potential energy. Here we are seeing the concept of potential energy. Where is our potential energy? Actually here our potential energy is coming from due to the presence of nucleus. Because here we have some charge inside the nucleus, we have considered that as Ze. So the potential energy in the presence of what? In the presence of, due to the presence of nucleus, charge on the nucleus. This is how we are getting kinetic energy due to electrons and potential energy due to the charge of the nucleus. And now we can easily simplify this derivation using or assuming this concept. What is the expression for total energy of the system? Actually the total energy of the system is equal to E is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. Kinetic energy plus potential energy is the total energy of the system. Now for a stable orbit, if we have to consider for the stable orbit, what we have to do is, for stable orbit, Rutherford assumed that, actually this is the expression for stable orbit. E is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy is the expression for stable orbit. Actually, this is Rutherford's assumption. Okay, Rutherford assumed that for a stable orbit, we have to consider the total energy of the system is equal to sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. But now what we have to do is from Rutherford atom model, from Rutherford's atomic model or Rutherford model of an atom, we can consider stable orbit he assumed that the centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force. For a stable orbit, Rutherford of an atomic model consisting of the centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force. He assumed centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force. Actually, what is the expression for centripetal force? The centripetal force expression of an orbit is equal to, that is mv square divided by r. Actually, that is mv square divided by r. That is the expression for centripetal force. And what is the expression for electrostatic force? Actually, the expression for electrostatic force is equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 divided by r square. The expression for electrostatic force is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q1 q2 by r square. Here we have q1 as ze, q2 as e. So we can consider this as ze into e divided by r square. This is the expression for electrostatic force. Okay, centripetal force is equal to mv square divided by r, and electrostatic force is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. Q1 is charge of a first object, and q2 is the charge of the second object, and we have considered that as ze and e divided by r square. Here there is no need of writing the charge of the electron, that is positive and negative. In case of electrostatic force, there is no need of writing the polarity of the charge. Okay, that is why we haven't written any positive and negative sign here. But now what we have to do is, here what are the components that we have to explain. What is m? M is mass of the electron. Here m is the mass of the electron. And what is e? E is the charge of the electron. And plus ze. What is plus ze or ze? Ze is the charge of the nucleus. And r. What is r? R is the radius between nucleus and the electron. These are the things which we know from our above expression that we should explain. Okay, while deriving the derivation, if we have written any new term, for a new term we have to explain the constituents. What are the things which it consists? We have to explain the terms of the equation. M is the mass of the electron, V is the velocity of the electron, R is the radius between nucleus and the electron, and Ze is the charge of the nucleus, and E is the charge of the electron. That's we should explain. Okay. Now what we can do is, we have to divide the whole equation by 2. Okay. What we will get if we divide the whole equation by 2? Divide the above equation by 2. Not equation 2. Only divided by 2. Here what we have in the same is r gets cancelled. Okay. The above expression only r gets cancelled. If we divide the whole thing by 2, then what we will get? That is mv square divided by 2. This is capital V. Here velocity is capital V. Mv square divided by 2. 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught 4 pi epsilon naught, or we can write this as 2 into 4. 2 into 4 is equal to 8 pi. 8 pi epsilon naught into z e square divided by r. Z e square divided by r. We can write like this. Why we have written E as same? Here E is the charge of the proton and E is the charge of the electron. Because in case of an atom, the charge of the both electrons and proton is same. Okay, that is why we have written this as E is equal to E. Charge of the proton is equal to charge of the electron. But mass of the proton and electron gets vary. Okay, but charge of the electron and charge of the proton both are same. Why? Because the total atom has to be electrically neutral. Okay, the total atom has to be electrically stable. That is why the both electron and proton should consist the same charge. Now, if we write like this, what is this mv square divided by 2? What is the expression of mv square divided by 2? mv square divided by 2 is nothing but kinetic energy. mv square divided by 2 is what? Kinetic energy. That is, kinetic energy is equal to 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught z e square divided by r. Z e square divided by r. This is how we are going to modify our above expression. Let us assume this as equation 1. Kinetic energy is equal to 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into z e square divided by r as equation 2. Actually, here we have to consider this expression as equation 1. Okay. Now here what we have got is the expression for kinetic energy. Again, now what we have to do is we have to obtain the expression for potential energy. Then only we can substitute the values of kinetic energy and potential energy to equation 1. Okay. Now let us see how we are going to derive or obtain the expression for potential energy of the. We have to obtain the expression for potential energy of a stable orbit. Okay. For that, what we can do is, there is an expression that is potential energy is equal to, that is electric potential at a distance r. Electric potential at a distance r. Electric potential at a distance r due to plus ZE. Due to plus ZE. Electric potential at a distance r due to plus ZE. Actually, the expression for potential energy is equal to potential energy of a positive charge and negative charge into minus. This is our expression. The expression for potential energy is equal to potential energy, electrical potential at a distance r due to positive energy, that is charge of the nucleus, and that is negative charge. Between the two charges only we are going to calculate what is the potential energy of the equation. For example, if we assume we have two charges, let us assume this as Q1 and this as Q2. What is the expression for potential energy? That is PE is equal to, potential energy is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R. But here in the case of potential energy, we have to consider the polarity of the charge. That is more important. Okay. What is the expression for electrical potential? The expression for electrical potential is that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q divided by R. If it is plus Q, we have to mention that as plus Q. In case of it is negative, we have to write that as minus Q divided by R. Okay, this is the expression for electrical potential. This is the expression for potential energy. We should note the difference between potential energy and the electrical potential. Here what we are writing is potential energy, that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. What is Q1? Q1 is plus ZE divided by R. Or we may consider this as the expression for electrical potential. The expression for electrical potential is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into plus ZE divided by R into E, that is negative charge. We may consider this as minus E. Okay, now we have got the expression for potential energy, or we may write this as potential energy is equal to minus ZE square. Okay, we may also write this expression as potential energy is equal to minus ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R. Or we may also write the expression for potential energy as minus Z into E square. Here we have plus into minus, that is minus ZE into E. E into E is equal to E square 4 pi epsilon naught into R, that we have in the denominator. Now let us assume this as equation 3. What we have to do is we have to substitute the values of equation 2 and equation 3 in equation 1. If we substitute the values of equation 2 and equation 3 in equation 1, what we will get? Let us see how we are going to derive the rest of the equations. Okay. If we substitute the values of equation 2 and equation 3 in equation 1, that is E is equal to that is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is nothing but ZE square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into R. Okay, ZE square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into R. Here we have the case of a kinetic energy, and we have potential energy. Potential energy is equal to minus ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R. This is a case of a potential energy. Here we have plus and minus sign. If we do the mathematics, we will get ZE square 8 pi epsilon naught into R minus ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R. This expression we have ZE square 4 pi epsilon naught R, ZE square 4 pi epsilon naught R as constant terms, because 8 means that is 4 into 2. If we take out ZE square 4 pi epsilon naught R as constant in the above equation, what are the remaining factors? Here 4 into 2 is 1 by 8. That means the only remaining thing is 1 divided by 2 in this term, and here we have nothing, so we have to consider that as minus 1. Okay, here ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. So if we subtract half by minus 1, because we cannot subtract 1 by half, that is why we have to subtract a smaller number by using larger number. In this, 1 is greater than half, that is why we have to subtract half by 1. Okay, 1 minus half is equal to how much? 1 minus half is equal to half only. Half plus half is equal to 1. Here we have negative sign in front of a greater number. Okay, we have to write the greater number sign, that is why we have written like this. 1 minus half is equal to, that is minus half into ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R. Ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into r. This is 2. 2 into 4 is equal to how much? That is E is equal to minus Ze square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into r. Actually, this is the expression for the energy of an hydrogen atom. The above is the expression for energy of the hydrogen atom. If they ask in your examination, this will be going to ask for 5 marks. Actually, this is the very important derivation from your exam point of view. The total marks assigned for this chapter is 5 marks. Okay. The probability of asking a 5 mark question is in this chapter is very more. Okay. That's why we have to consider this as an important derivation from your exam point of view. This is how we have discussed about the expression for energy of a hydrogen atom in terms of radius using Rutherford structure of an atom. Here in terms of radius, that means it should contain the term radius. Without radius, this derivation is not complete. Okay. This is how we are going to derive the derivation. Like this only, we have to derive the expression for energy of the hydrogen atom using Bohr's model of an atom. That is also more important one. Okay. Bohr's model of an atom, using the Bohr's model of an atom, we have to derive the expression for energy of the hydrogen atom. Let us see how we can do that. Before going to that concept, we have to explain Bohr's postulates. Actually, I have already explained this thing in our previous session. What are the Bohr's postulates, and I have shown some video for that. Once again, I am going to explain what is the meaning of Bohr's postulates. Before going to Bohr's postulate, we should explain what are the demerits of Rutherford structure of an atom. Then only why Bohr has come and he modified the structure of an atom. That is more important. Now, let us see what are the drawbacks of Rutherford structure of an atom. Okay, actually Rutherford structure of an atom doesn't explain the stability of the atom. I have already said that. Why? Because the electron losing its energy, it comes and it's the center of the nucleus and the whole atom gets destroyed. Okay, that is why this theory doesn't explain the stability of the atom. What he has said is, while revolving around the nucleus, an electron revolving around the nucleus, it may lose its energy. Okay, while losing its energy, it comes to the center of the nucleus and hits, and the whole atom gets vanished. Okay, because opposite charges may attract. Okay, opposite charges going to attract. That's why the whole atom going to vanish. This is the major drawback of a Rutherford structure of an atom. And what is the another drawback? That is, this theory doesn't explain the spectral lines. Okay, this theory doesn't explain the origin of the spectral line. If a stable atom should consist stability of the atom, electrical neutrality, and origin of a spectral line. This fails to explain both the terms. That is why this theory is a failure. Okay, not the whole, but some of its explanations are not true in case of an atom. Now we are going to consider Bohr's postulates. Okay, what is the meaning of Bohr's postulates? Bohr said that the atom should be stable. Okay, if the atom should be stable means the first postulates of a Bohr is the electrons has to revolve around the nucleus in a stable orbits, such orbits called as stationary orbits. For example, if we assume this as a nucleus and this as a orbits. Let us assume these two as a orbits. Okay, if the electron is revolving around its nucleus using angular momentum or its velocity v, it should be revolving around the nucleus until its end. Okay, what is its end? That we don't know. If the atom is stable, that means it has to revolve around the nucleus until the atom is stable. Okay, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೋತಾ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಈ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಲ್ ಸುತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಸುತ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಬೇರೆ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೋಗೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಒನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ, ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ರ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಬೇರೆ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ, ಅದರ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಇಂದ, ಈಗ ಅದ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕ ಒಂದು ಆಟಮ್ ಪಕ್ಕ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರೇಡಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಅದರ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್, ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ದಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ ಜಂಪ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್. ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಜಂಪ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್. ಈ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು circulate in a circular orbit only. These kind of orbits are called as stationary orbits. This is the first postulate of a Bohr. Actually in Rutherford atom this is not explained. Okay, this wasn't explained. ಅವರು ಏನು ಹೇಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಈ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಲ್ ಸುತ್ತುತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಟೇಷನರಿ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸುತ್ತುತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. ಅದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟೈಮ್. ಬಟ್ ಅನ್ಲೆಸ್ ದ external energy, it is not possible. That's why Bohr modified his theory, and again he is going to give its second postulate. What is the second postulates of a Bohr? And he tells that if the atom is coming from higher orbit order to the lower orbit order, okay, this is higher order orbit, this is lower order orbit. For example, if you consider this as n is equal to 1, this as n as 2. ಇದು higher order orbit, ಇದು lower order orbit. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಇಂದ ಲೋಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಗೆ ಅದು ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ದೆನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ. ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಇಂದ ಲೋಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಗೆ ಅದು ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಅವಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಲೂಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. If it has to jumps from lower order orbit to the higher order orbit, ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, it should gain energy from other sources. This is Bohr's second postulate. For that he given an expression that is E is equal to h nu. Actually this expression from Planck's equation, Planck's energy model, that is equal to E is equal to h into nu. Here h is Planck's constant and nu is the frequency or energy. Okay, here nu is frequency or energy, h is Planck's constant, that is E is equal to E2 minus E1. This is E2 minus E1. What is E2 here? That is energy of the second orbit and energy of the first orbit. Actually this is Bohr's second postulates. Okay, what are his two postulates? The electrons revolve only in certain orbits called stationary orbit is his first postulate, and the second one is the electron emits energy only when it jumps from higher order orbit to the lower order orbit. This is we have explained here. And what is the third postulate? This is the important one. Actually he also called the second postulate as quantization rule. The electron revolving in certain orbits is also called as quantization rule. That was explained by Bohr. And the third rule is the angular momentum of an electron in the stationary orbit. The angular momentum of an electron in a stationary orbit. For example, if we consider this as a stationary orbit or this as a stationary orbit, we have said that it has its own angular momentum. Okay, if it is revolving in a circular method, circular way, it should contain its angular momentum. For that, the integral multiple of the angular momentum of the electron is equal to integral multiple of h divided by 2 pi. Then he gave the expression that as angular momentum Ls is equal to n into h divided by 2 into pi. This is his third postulate. The angular momentum of the electron is equal to integral multiple of h divided by 2 pi. Here what is L? L is angular momentum, h is Planck's constant, and n is number of orbits. How many orbits it is going to consider, or the order of the orbit. Okay, these are the three postulates of a Bohr. This is a very important thing. This is going to ask in your examination for 2 marks. What are Bohr's postulates? That may ask in your examination for 2 marks. So that is why this is more important. Now we can derive the expression for an energy of a hydrogen atom in terms of Bohr's atomic model. Okay, Bohr's atom of an model. Now I am going to change the heading of the expression. Obtain an expression for radius of the nth orbit. Obtain an expression for nth orbit of hydrogen atom using Bohr's model of an atom. This is not BORE Bohr. Actually, this is BOHR Bohr. Okay, that is the name of a scientist. Bohr's model of an atom. This is the heading for our next derivation. That is, obtain an expression for radius of nth orbit of an hydrogen using Bohr's atomic model. This is also very important one. Here what we have to derive is, we have to obtain the expression for radius, not for energy. Actually there is another derivation for energy. We can do that later. Before going to that, we have to consider the expression for radius. Let us see how we are going to derive. We are going to derive an expression for radius of nth orbit of a hydrogen atom using Bohr's postulates, or we can call that as Bohr's model of an atom. For that, we have to consider a nucleus. Around the nucleus, an electron has to revolve, and it should contain its own charges. The charge of the nucleus is equal to plus Ze, and the charge of the electron is equal to minus E. V is the velocity of the electron, and R is the distance between the nucleus and the electron, or radius. Okay, already we know these things, but here I am going to do a slight change. What is that? What is the expression for a stable orbit? Actually, in terms of Rutherford structure of an atom, we have considered the expression for stable orbit is equal to E is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. But here I am going to write for a stable orbit. For Rutherford structure of an atom, what I am going to consider is, that is, centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force. Actually, we have seen this in Rutherford's atom of a model. That is also we have considered in this expression. That is, centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force. What is the expression for centripetal force? That is m v square into r. M v square divided by r. The expression for centripetal force is equal to m v square divided by r. And the expression for electrostatic force, actually here we are considering the expression for electrostatic force in terms of Coulomb force. Okay, in terms of Coulomb force, the expression for electrostatic force is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught ZE into E divided by R square. This is the expression for electrostatic force in terms of Coulomb force. Now I am going to change or modify this expression. Here R gets cancelled and I am sending this R to the another side of the equation. Okay. Then what it will become? That is m v square into R is equal to ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay, actually this is the modified expression of the above centripetal forces is equal to electrostatic force expression. Here what we have done is we have cancelled R terms here and I have sent this R to the another side of the equation and it comes to the numerator of the other side of the equation and it is going to multiply. Let us assume this as equation 1. That is m v square R is equal to ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon. Here we know the concept. This is m. This is mass of the electron and this is what? V square. That is velocity of the electron. That is, this is a radius between the two charges and here ZE is the charge of the nucleus, E is the charge of the electron and these are the all other constants. Now what we have to do is we have to consider the expression for Bohr's quantization rule. What is the expression for Bohr's quantization rule? I have said that Bohr's quantize from Bohr's quantization rule we know the expression for angular momentum. From Bohr's quantization rule, we know the expression for angular momentum, that is L is equal to N into H divided by 2 pi. Angular momentum of an electron is equal to integral multiple of H divided by 2 pi. But what is the case of angular momentum? What is the actual expression for angular momentum? So we know that L is equal to mv into R. This is the expression for angular momentum. Actually this thing you have studied in your first PUC physics. If we substitute the value of angular momentum as mvr, what we will get? Mvr is equal to nh divided by 2 pi. Okay. Actually here angular momentum is equal to mv into r. We can consider like that. mvr divided is equal to nh divided by 2 pi. Now we have to square on both the sides of the equation. Squaring on both the sides. In the above equation what we have to do is we have to square on both the sides. Then what we will get? This will become m square. This is v square, this is r square. M square, v square, r square is equal to n square into h square. N square into h square divided by 4 into pi square. Because 2 square is equal to pi. Sorry, 4. 2 square is equal to 4. That's why I have written like this. Let us assume this as equation 2. Let us assume this as equation 2. If we divide equation 2 and equation 1 or equation 2 by equation 1. If we divide equation 2 by equation 1, what we will get? Left hand side should be divided with left hand side and right hand side should divide with right hand side. Then what we will get here is m square v square r square divided by, here what we have is m v square into r. In equation 2 we have m square v square divided by r square, that is in the numerator. In equation m v square into r, that is in the denominator. Now if we write this term, that is n square h square divided by 4 pi square whole divided by, here what we have is z e square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Actually this is our modified expression if we divide equation 2 by equation 1, that is m square v square r square divided by mv square divided by r is equal to n square h square divided by 4 pi square divided by z e square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Now what I am going to do is I am going to cancel the same things, the things which is consisting the same factors is going to divide. Here m and m gets cancelled, here the whole v square is getting cancelled, and here r and r getting cancelled, and the only remaining factors here is m into r. Okay, that is m into r is equal to, and what are the cancelling factors here? I am going to modify this expression as, that is m into r is equal to n square h square divided by 4 pi square into 4 pi into epsilon naught divided by z e square. Actually this is the basic property of a mathematics. Now ಇದನ್ನ lower primary and higher primary classes ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿರ್ತೀವಿ. This is division rule. If we have to convert this into a multiplication rule, then denominator of a denominator will comes to the numerator. That we know. Here the whole thing is denominator, and this is the denominator inside the denominator, that will comes to the numerator. Here 4 and 4 gets cancelled, pi and pi gets cancelled, and what are the remaining factors in this expression? That is, here we have to obtain the expression for a radius. Okay, radius means r. So I am going to send this m to the other side of the equation. The r is equal to n square h square into epsilon naught divided by m pi into z e square. R is equal to epsilon naught n into h square. Actually, sorry, this is not n, this is n square. N square h square epsilon naught divided by m pi z into e square. Actually, this is the expression for radius of the nth orbit. R is equal to n square h square epsilon naught divided by m pi z into e square. This is the thing actually which we wanted to derive. The radius of the nth orbit of a hydrogen atom using Bohr's model of an atom. Okay. Now what I am going to do is, if we consider the expression for first orbit. First orbit means what? N will become 1. For first orbit, n will become 1. Therefore, the equation will become R1 is equal to h square epsilon naught m pi z into e square. This is for first orbit. First orbit means what? N will become 1. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ n is equal to 1. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ n is equal to 2. ಅವಾಗ R2 ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? R2 is equal to 2 square. 2 square is nothing but 4 h square epsilon naught m pi z into e square. But in the case of hydrogen atom, for hydrogen atom ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು protons ಇರುತ್ತೆ? That is Z. Number of protons in hydrogen atom is equal to 1. Z means here number of protons. Okay, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು atoms ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರೊಳಗಡೆ ಎಷ್ಟು protons ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ atom ಒಳಗಡೆ. So for hydrogen atom, R1 is equal to h square epsilon naught divided by m pi into e square. This is for the case of hydrogen atom for a first orbit. In case of nth orbit, Rn is equal to for the case of nth orbit, this will be n square h square epsilon naught divided by m pi into e square. This is how we are going to derive the expression for a radius of a nth orbit of a hydrogen atom using Bohr's postulates. Here, which is Bohr's postulates, that is L is equal to NH divided by 2 pi. Actually, this we have seen in Rutherford structure of an atom. Okay, there only we have studied this, but using Bohr's quantization rule, we have modified our expression. Using this radius, we have to obtain the expression for the nth orbit of an hydrogen atom, energy. Okay, obtain an expression for energy of the nth orbit of the hydrogen atom using Bohr's postulates. Bohr's postulates. There we have to substitute the value of radius, because in Rutherford's expression we have obtained the expression for energy only, that is E is equal to something we have derived, but for that expression we have to assume the value of radius. That we can do in our next session. This is all about today's class. In this session we have discussed and derived the expression for energy of the nth orbit of a hydrogen atom using Rutherford structure of an atom by considering radius of a two charges and Bohr's postulates, and other thing is obtain the expression for radius of an nth orbit of a hydrogen atom using Bohr's postulates or Bohr's model of an atom. This is what we have studied in this class. Actually, these two derivations are very important from your examination point of view. Both radius derivation and energy derivation of hydrogen atom using Rutherford's and Bohr's postulates. And Bohr's quantization rules is going to ask for 2 marks in your examination, and the other two derivations for 5 marks. Actually, this session is very, very important from your exam point of view. Please go through the derivation of what I have derived. If there is any doubt, please ask, and you have to write the whole thing in your notes and you have to send that to me later. Okay, thank you all.